Today we are talking about Dr. Karen Becker. She is arguably the most renowned and the biggest veterinarian in the world. She is a prominent figure online and she has been on YouTube for as long as one can remember. Now in this video we are going to dissect whether Dr. Karen Becker is full of it or is there anything that we can learn about her. Now there's a lot of tribalism in the pet food industry, so before you cast your comment I want you to watch until the end of the video so you can draw your own conclusions. Now there's a few things that she claims and we are going to talk about them one by one. The first one is that you should feed your dog or cat a species appropriate diet. What does that mean? Well, that means a species appropriate diet actually. What she's trying to argue is that you should feed your dog and cat like a dog and cat should be fed, and not like a rabbit or a human being or a horse. The diet we give our dogs or cat should be biologically appropriate, should be species appropriate, and is the recognition that your dog and cat's mouth, gut and body composition is very particular to that species. And by recognizing that your dog or cat is indeed a dog or cat, you should be feeding them one specific way. The second big theme in her thinking is that fresh food is better than ultra processed food. What does that mean? Well, that means that she is an advocate for fresh raw dog food. It just means that she is promoting fresh food instead of ultra processed kibble. And she does talk a lot about ingredients. She talks about extrusion in kibble, how some of those meats and ingredients are rendered and powdered and rendered from any nutritional value, and how by you feeding your dog or cat fresh food, you can actually see by yourself what you are giving them, instead of relying on a manufacturing process in order to sell you dry kibble. She also talks and is a huge proponent of feeding raw meaty bones to dogs. And let me tell you, she has written extensively about it. Before you make any judgments, I encourage you to actually watch and read some of those videos and some of those articles and how measured the whole advice is when it comes to feeding raw meaty bones. It talks about the right way to do it, why you should do it, and why in her opinion raw meaty bones are essential for dental health. Another big claim she makes is on the role of carbohydrates in pet food, and this is something that is really at the heart of many of her claims. She argues that a lot of these carbohydrates, a lot of these grains that we feed our dogs via kibble aren't biologically appropriate. One of the things she says, for example, is that rice or corn biologically should not be fed to dogs. Why? Because dogs cannot use their jaws as we can to masticate sideways and to chew the food down. And another thing she does say is that dogs and cats lack an enzyme that breaks down carbohydrates in the mouth, and by dogs and cats not having this enzyme called amylase, it's a pretty big hint that our pets should not be fed anything that's too grainy. They are not biologically designed to eat that precise food. She then talks extensively about pancreatitis, about obesity, about diabetes, and about controlling and trying to prevent a lot of these diseases through food instead of treating them afterwards. So she will talk about prevention through diet and through food instead of promoting the actual treatment that your vet might recommend. She's trying to prevent, and she is trying to instruct you on how to feed your dog or cat better. Now, there's a few things you need to be aware of, and the first thing is that we can all show documents that support our claims. We can all dig out different studies, we can all read different literature, and we can be absolutely biased towards that viewpoint, and we could actually make any claim pretty much we want and have it supported by a paper or another. But instead of doing that, we are going to take a bit of a different approach, and we are going to try to think with our heads. And maybe some of these things resonate with you, and maybe some of these things do not resonate with you. Essentially, what she is trying to say, what her big claim is that there are two main food camps in the pet food industry. And this is something I bang on about all day, every day. In one camp, we have poor ingredients, things like meat and animal derivatives. We have sugar in pet food. We have too many additives and colorants added to our pet's food. We have things like rice, wheat, barley, corn. We have things that aren't really designed, in my opinion, to be fed to our dog. And in the other camp, we have the freshly prepared free-range chicken, the dry lamb, the fresh kangaroo, bones, maybe some organ meats, maybe some cartilage that is pretty beneficial to your dog. And so, which camp do you want to be in? The camp I want to be in is in the good ingredients for my dog and for my cat. And whenever I look at some of the ingredients list in a lot of pet foods, what I can see is that those ingredients are very, very poor quality. We have rendered meats. We have things like meat meals, which are very, very unspecific. And we have dog foods and cat foods that are extremely carb heavy and filler heavy. And another point I always make is that 1 kilo of lamb is always going to be more expensive than a kilo of chicken. A kilo of corn is always going to be cheaper than a kilo of chicken. And I always say that the role of quality ingredients is always at the heart of anything I feed myself and I feed my pets as well. Now, she does attract certain criticisms sometimes, and I want to be level with you. She has not paid me to do anything, and this video is not sponsored by anybody, so I can therefore be honest with you. Now, there's a few criticisms as we were saying, and one is that she does sell and promote her own supplements, and that she does guide you towards buying some of her stuff. Is that legitimate? Well, she is trying to run a business, as she is trying to run as ethical a business as she sees fit, really. But if you take an objective approach to the whole thing, this is not 100% support Karen Becker or 100% go against Karen Becker. I think we should always be open-minded, and we should always be trying to learn and trying to see what other people are saying. And if someone says something that resonates with us, then maybe we pick out that little thing and we incorporate that into our knowledge. But in my opinion, discarding people because you diametrically oppose them, or because you don't like them, or because of anything else is pernicious, and it's pernicious to our knowledge. So do listen to what everyone has to say, and then try to pick out what makes sense for you. As I said, The main take is what I always say. There's two main camps in the pet food industry: the good ingredients and the bad ingredients. And I want to be giving my dog or cat as many good ingredients as possible, because we know that ultra processed foods are very, very harmful in humans. How are they not going to be harmful to our pets? What do you think about Dr. Karen Becker? Are you for or are you against her? What is your opinion? Have you learned anything from her? And have you actually read her literature? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.